Monica Makes It Happen is proudly supported by Goya. If it's Goya, it has to be good. JP Morgan Chase, New York's hometown bank for over 225 years, and by Ponce Bank, your community bank.
Hi, everybody, and you're watching the Monica Makes It Happen show, and I have a new favorite phrase, because you know I love alliteration. It's called cultural capital, and guess who's with me? I can't even believe, I feel like I already know you so well because, first of all, you're really into getting people to buy real estate to create that generational wealth. We know that that's the secret. That's the secret to success over here. And you are Danielle Lewis-McLaurin, the founder and CEO of Cheers by DLM. First of all, tell me what that's all about. Like, what is Cheers by DLM?
So Cheers by DLM, we empower communities through ownership. So home ownership, entrepreneurship, and future leadership. So I call myself a community builder.
I love that. And a connector.
Yeah.
So what is the cheers? Are you cheering for us to do this?
Well, so I used to be an FX trader. And so everything was, you would say cheers at the end. So we're saying cheers. So everyone would tease and cheers, Danielle. So it's, cheers. And you should be cheering when you're buying real estate. Buying real estate is fun, right?
Yes. It really is. And it leaves a legacy. I was just thanking my mom.
Right.
My mom was a first-time home buyer, and she also cleaned homes. She didn't have a high school education. She has horror stories about how she came to this country. And I'm open about it now. It was really hard to talk about. I'm just starting to talk about it. And she bought her first home. And do you know, Danielle, that money and that investment is still supporting me right now. And I think that's really important to tell people over and over again, because we hear all these stories about, you don't have to buy and you can rent. And, I disagree. I think that there's some real beauty to owning everything that you have instead of renting. And that's the cultural capital. And I love this. What is cultural capital? Tell me about that.
So that's the missing link with our community. So we have the culture, but there's not the capital. So you bring the capital in through banks, through down payment assistance, any mechanism so that people will be homeowners. And you're correct. Think about it. When you own something, you're going to treat it differently.
Yes.
You're going to sweep that sidewalk. I always tease, I say, when I see a dirty sidewalk or a block that's dirty, I could count on my fingers how many homeowners. Wow. But when there's homeowners, they're going outside, they're sweeping, they get that metal broom out. Mm-hmm. They get the hose and they hose it down at 5 a.m. So.
And can I say something? And I never know where these conversations are going to go. And I'm not going to say who it is, but I was with 50 CEOs last night, all women, all Black and brown women who are running everything in this town. And there was a story that I just want to share really quick. She bought her first home. Right. And she bought a coffee table and she decided, I'm going to start a newspaper. See, so not only are you buying a home, you're believing in yourself. You're saying, I am good enough to own. I'm good enough to be the boss of this place. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So then it becomes like you become more and more lucrative because of that little step and home ownership does that, right? I mean, I hate to be such a advocate, but I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in other women's life and men too. We don't want to keep the men out of there, but it's time to buy. And as someone who's a boss herself, like you're very humble, I'm sure, but you're incredibly successful. And we want to learn all about your company, and I'm sure people are going to Google it. But in your experience, what is that obstacle? Is it a mental obstacle? What is keeping us from buying homes and buying things?
Well, I think that people just thought that it wasn't obtainable. They just thought that they needed, the typical 20% down. And you don't anymore. There's different programs. Banks really got it, The average person, you think about it, if you're paying the average one bedroom in New York City is $3,000. So if your income is $120,000, how are you able to save 20%? You're either not eating or you have 15 roommates, right? That's like the reality of things. But there's so many different ways to home ownership, or we would say different paths to home ownership, so these are starting to be things that people are saying, wow, you know what? I can do it. I have 3% down. Maybe I'm not buying the Fifth Avenue penthouse, right? But I can buy the apartment that I live in. It's my small piece of the pie, but it's mine, right? At the end of the
Yes.
day. So,
Yes. I
yeah.
really think it's that mental state too. I really do. And I don't know how to break that mental state. I hope that this show helps chip away at the mental state of, we have to own. Ownership is so important. But talk to me about that. The ways, the elaborate or maybe fancy or maybe ways that we think we need to know to actually buy, but it's not that much, right? Like let's figure it out. What are some of those affordable like co-op options? Like, what are some other ways of us owning something?
So it fell in my lap, something called an HDFC. So back in the day when President Clinton was the president, there was an initiative to make everyone a homeowner, right? To make it affordable. So instead of, you would take the tenant association, right? So instead of them being a social, housing component, they made Miss Such and Such the president of she was already the president of the tenant association. So they've already been running the books, but then they made them homeowners. So with the HDFC, for $250, you were able to buy your apartment. And with that, the real estate changed because there was the pride of home ownership. So it wasn't, no, you're not sitting in front of my stoop because I now am a shareholder in this corporation. So it just really changed the trajectory. So fast forward, I call it the 40 acres and a mule for, I don't really like to say middle income because in New York City, unless you make $2.5 million, you are so middle class.
Isn't that the truth? Thank you for just saying that. I feel like we're all living paycheck to paycheck and it's getting worse and worse. And it's hard to get like any more money out of your bosses, but everything's so much more expensive. So you're getting squeezed everywhere. So thank you for saying that. I think all of our viewers agree with you. Like, come on.
So with this product, you're able to, you might not have 20%. A lot of the buildings, they get it because the math isn't mathing. If you're, it is income, your income must fall within whatever guideline for that building. But, another myth is, okay, well, a lot of the buildings, it's $30,000. That's not true either. Again, we're thinking of the middle class, right? So some of them, the incomes can go as high as $250. If you're a bus driver and you've worked overtime, right? You could be at whatever status, but you only need 3% down in a lot of cases. That's when you're renting, you need first month's rent, last month's rent, and security, or first month's rent and broker's fee. That same 10.5, you can buy an apartment. The same one bedroom that you were going to rent.
Again. That is so golden. So wait a second. So you see this in the real world, that you're telling people stop thinking of the last month's rent and think about buying something else. Are there specific developers that you work with or companies that you work with that can help you? Well, I know your organization can help us, right?
Yeah. So there's various banks, but almost every bank has a first-time home buyer component. Now, every bank might not lend to specific buildings, but almost every bank has something for first-time home buyers, whether it's a $7,500 grant that you're getting that you don't have to pay back, or maybe your fees might be less because you're purchasing in an area that, the census says that the average person's income is blah, blah, blah. So now you qualify to get 0.2 off of the interest rate. So there's so many different ways that we can get you in. You just have to drink the water, right? We can we can bring people to the well, but we can't force a horse to drink. So you have to be willing and able to learn to do things a little bit differently and see things differently.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, so coming up, you got me. This is a hot show. So after the commercial break, we're going to take a commercial because we got to pay the bills around here. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this cultural capital that I want to learn more about. Also, how do we get this money? We hear about all these grants out there helping. I'm sure a lot of our estate planning too, a little bit, some wealth tools for us, and then your personal experience, why you're on a mission to do this. That's after the break.
Monica's Money Matters is proudly supported by JP Morgan Chase, New York's hometown bank for over 225 years.
All right, we're back. We're back with one of my favorite. I could just listen to you all day. I don't know, Danielle. We're like made together to be together. And it's Danielle Lewis-McLaurin. She is the CEO of what's called Cheers by DLM. And that's because after a big deal, what do? Cheers. We cheers.
Yes.
That's what we do. I love that. I thought you're also cheering us on. But tell me about this cultural capital and understanding money. This first-time home buyer grants. There's something like that. Tell me, I love grants, first of all. We can't get enough. What is this all about?
So there's various grants. There's a Sony May grant where it pays up to $100,000. So it's up to a purchase of $500, then they'll do 20% of that. So you have that. You have, most banks will have a first-time home buyer grant where it's anywhere from $5,000 to $7,500. So you can apply those funds there. I'm trying to think of
Now,
what other.
what are the catches? I always learn in
Yeah.
is there a catch? What's the catch to these grants? Because when you think of grants, you think, okay, this is free money, or is there a
Right.
catch?
There is a catch. The catch is your taxes. You're being taxed this money. So this is, you're going to get at the end of the year a 1099-C. So I tell my clients all the time, so say if you're making $100,000 and you got a grant for $35,000, your taxable income for that year is $135,000. So just be prepared for it.
Yeah.
While, you don't have to pay the grant back, but you do have to pay taxes on it. And you get a clever tax accountant.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's really
Yeah.
important. So tell me about like certain things like the inside. You're on the inside. Tell me a little bit, like what's a common misconception someone who is a first-time home buyer may have before jumping in the pool and making that leap of faith that it really is. I mean, it's not, I know we talk about it and just start, but taking that leap of faith, you have to jump on the boat. It's leaving, the opportunity's leaving, and you gotta jump on that boat. What do you say?
One of the biggest myths, besides not thinking that it's obtainable and thinking that you need 20%, a lot of myths are, okay, if I buy this affordable housing piece, then when I sell it, it has to be, at this rate. I can only sell it at a capped amount. That is not true. Unless it says it in the bylaws, and only very few buildings have it in their bylaws that it's that it's sales capped. It might be income capped when you buy it. Your income might be, let's say, 120,000. Maybe that's the cap, but the next day you can make $1 million. That's the biggest myth that people don't understand. They're thinking, oh no, I'm stuck. You're not stuck. You have options.
That's
So
huge.
it's great.
That's huge. I love that. I love little tidbits like that. And that's huge tidbit, actually. Estate planning. So estate planning can make us wealthy. What do you suggest?
So when you have home ownerships, there's 3 components, right? There's the initial purchase, there's the maintenance, and then there's the succession planning. So if you fail at any of those points, then it's not going to work out. Estate planning is so important because a lot of people think that, oh, okay, for example, I'm an only child. I've heard all my life, no, I don't have to, even though my mom has a will, I don't have to have this. Everything goes to you anyway. Well, guess what? In New York City, in New York State, even though you have a will, you still go to probate. And people don't understand that. Yeah, so it's either you die intestate, you die out of testate. That still means either you have a will or you didn't have a will, but you're still going to probate. You still have to go to surrogate court. If you have a trust, you don't have to do that, which is great.
So, I watch Instagram all the time. I love Instagram and financial, but since I have you now, you're my go-to now. Thank you, Ashley. Ashley makes it happen. So then you're saying do a trust. Everyone should have a trust. Is that what you're saying? Even if we only have $10 in the bank?
Yep. I'm so happy that you mentioned about the $10 in the bank. You know why?
I'm just asking for a friend. I have $100 in the bank.
It's like, do you realize that you can sign a waiver at your bank that says upon death, I want this designated to blah, blah, blah. There's so many different things.
Really?
Yeah. I learned this at my last.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I mean. There's a upon death, benefit. So there's so many different things that we could do.
I love that. Well, I don't want to be morbid, but it's important. This is
important.
Really important stuff. We can't say it enough. So when you're estate planning though, do you have to go to a lawyer? Like, how do you build that trust? What's your biggest,
when you're doing a trust, you want to go to an attorney because a trust is so detail oriented. Mm-hmm. Now, the wills and trust events that I have, I can execute your will for free. And I would prefer for you to have something as opposed to, dying without a will. It's a lot easier. So what we've done
children, right? They always say you got, but even if you don't, I feel like everybody needs one. Like, you know what I mean?
Even if everyone needs a will, because you need a will, last will and testament. You need a power of attorney, because what if you go to Mexico and you're stuck in Mexico and you need someone to go in your apartment or whatever, and they have the power of attorney. They're able to do certain things on your behalf, the power of attorney doesn't cover you for health reasons. So it's like you need to have all three.
Now, Danielle, can you tell me a story? Is there a story that we need to know about? I mean, you've helped so many people become wealthy. Could you tell me a story to give us some hope here in the second block?
The reason that I do the estate planning, I shouldn't be able to walk into surrogate court on Chambers Street or in the Bronx because they think that I am an attorney because I'm there so much. I'm very passionate. It hurt my heart to sell an apartment once where a hardworking woman fell. She fell and she had to go into a rehabilitation center. And had she had the proper estate planning, there wouldn't have been a $260,000 lien on her shares because her diapers were $75. Every time I saw 18 pages of her going to Rite Aid, and that's fine. But had she had set up a trust, there wouldn't have been, everything would have gone into the trust. There wouldn't have been a personal, lien. That her daughter, when we sold the property, she got $5,000.
That is heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking.
Yeah, that really hurt me.
And that money, between you and me, that she would have wanted that money to go to her grandkids' tuition.
Exactly.
That's probably what her mindset was I worked so hard for this home, and then I want that money to go to my grandkids' tuition. We're always thinking like 3 generations. Yeah. At least I know my mom was like that. I know I'm thinking like that too. Because every little bit counts. That's the worst story I think I've heard this whole week. And I hear some pretty bad stories, but that was really, thank you for that. Hopefully that's a wake-up call for somebody. I always think if we help one person, we're going to go to a commercial break and we're going to bring it up positive. We're going to bring it all up and how you how this cannot happen to you, and how it's like a speed round of questions that I've always wanted to ask about money and about investing and about real estate. That's after. And you know what? We should also open these up to our Instagram audience. I think I'm going to start doing that, where we have I always get like questions about housing. And I think we should start asking our viewers for money questions for the show. Like if they have
Yeah.
any, like, because I'm going to have some big guests who can actually answer these questions. And obviously, thank you for your time. I think you're not charging me for this. But anyway, when we come back, we're back with Danielle, and we're asking all those great money questions. That's coming up. All right, we're back. Danielle, thank you for joining us. And I always have to plug, tell me again, you are the founder of an incredible organization called Cheers by DLM. How do we reach you again?
Yes. So you can reach me at dlm@cheersbydlm.com. That's the easiest way.
That's easy to remember. And then you're also on Instagram, because I love Instagram.
I'm on Instagram, and I'm Cheers by DLM. And yes, I do my own corny reels. It's my it's my therapy.
Hello, everybody does. Everybody does our own little reels, okay? And they're not cheesy at all. I love them. I live for these reels. Okay. So speed round. You ready? Okay.
Sure.
Ownership or renting?
Ownership.
Why?
I hate to say it, renting is like throwing money out the window. If you own something, you at least get the money back at the end of the day.
I agree 100%. Buy now or wait?
Buy now.
Why?
Too many people are on the sidelines. It's the same thing. You're waiting for what? You're going to spend the money regardless. You have inflation. You're not really, these interest rates that everyone's thinking, you're not saving any money. Do it now.
It's never
Do
a
it
good
now.
time.
Build wealth.
That's what they were saying. They always say, "Oh, don't have kids now. Don't have the second one now." And then it's like, "Hey, it's never. You got to do it now. Now." Estate plan at 30 or 50?
30. 30. You should absolutely.
But if you're 50, do it at 50.
If you're 50, do it. Yeah, do it.
One word or maybe two words that define wealth for you. Ooh, this is a good one. Who came up with this? It was me, I think. Okay.
Freedom.
And?
Yeah.
Freedom and?
Yeah, freedom. That's a tough question.
I'm going to say, you know what I was going to say? Happiness. Because for
happiness
me,
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. When I'm able to pay my bills, I'm able to buy a home. I'm able to
Hallelujah.
feed my children. It is happiness for me. And it's not even for me anymore. It's for what I can do for other people with that money. You can start giving it away. One book that has inspired you, a wealth book that you think everyone should read.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Ooh, I got to read that one. Everyone keeps saying that.
Yeah.
Best financial advice you ever received?
Money comes to you. Don't chase it.
Oh, that was good. Money comes to you. Don't chase it. So does that mean you don't row the boat? You know how they say if you go in the boat, you got to row it. What does that mean?
You can still row the boat, but you're just not chasing. You're not chasing the tugboat in front of you. So, in Jewish tradition, if your money comes to you, if you're running after it all your life, you're going to be chasing money. So I've learned, and most of my mentors, they'll, Shana, that's my Yiddish nickname. Shana, let deals come to you. Don't chase. And when I chase and when I compromise, guess what? It doesn't work out.
I love you so much. You got to be on my TV show. I always joke I do TV too. And then culture plus capital equals what?
Culture plus capital equals stronger communities. Yeah, that's the main ingredient.
Drop the mic. We didn't even plan this. I'm telling you. I was coming up with these questions on my couch last night. I was like, why not? Ask if I have a money extra.
Sure.
I want to do this with all my CEOs. You're extraordinary. You are what
Thank you.
leadership looks like, with an incredible heart and soul for helping people. You have strategy, you have ownership, and you have an incredible legacy. And it is about cultural capital. And thank you
Yeah.
for introducing me to that. I think that this was an important show. It's not just about the property, it's about power, right?
Right. Yeah.
What's some final words you can leave us with just to make us feel good about where we are? Let's say if we're in a tough space, we might have lost our job, we might have very little in the bank, or we're thinking about buying that first home and we've saved everything we have to do it.
Think of a toddler learning to walk. You're going to fall down. It doesn't matter that you fell down. It matters that you got up and you got to the finish line.
That's
That's
so
it.
good. That's so good. Oh my God. I could talk to you forever. You will be back. We will have you back. And thank you
Thank you. I
again
would
for
love to come
taking this
back.
time out of
Yeah.
your busy schedule. Keep making people rich, okay? Keep building that generational wealth. And I got so much from this show. I hope everyone at home did as well, wherever you're watching. I'm Monica Morales, and this is the Monica Makes It Happen show. We are all about building wealth. And of course, health is wealth. We're starting a series
Yes.
with health is wealth too, but we want to protect our culture and we want to protect our money. So why not do it all together? Let's keep making it happen together. See you next time.